All right. Take three. First rule of this channel, we not talk about this channel. Second rule of this channel, this is not legal advice. So welcome to the 2024 reaction to the second and third round. Absolutely nothing happened here, and I will not be moving anybody up and down the draft. So let's get into it. So starting off with the first pick of the second round, 33 overall, Keon Coleman goes to the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to guess right now that Matt Collins is going to start off the season as the X, and they're going to try and get Keon Coleman to take that job. From a fantasy perspective, I would say that, yeah, definitely a Gabe Davis replacement. Um, Interesting prospect. There are some things to like about him. There are some things not to like about him. 4.640 at the combine, 4.540 at his pro day. A lot of short area type burst, big slot type thoughts, contested catch type of guy. I don't know from a fantasy perspective if he's ever going to be anything more than a wide receiver two. Probably again, Gabe Davis, that boom bust type of range. Gonna keep Dalton Kincaid, tight end one, and also gonna keep Khalil Shakur in that potential 1-to-1 replacement for Stephon Diggs. So again, maybe in Dynasty is going to have a little bit more value in redraft. I don't think he's even draftable. Lad McConkey goes 34 overall to the Chargers, league winner. That's all I got to tell you. Potential to be one-to-one replacement for Keenan Allen. Remember that vacated targets tend to go to running backs, but again, this is going to be the guy with the best road to be the number one attached to Justin Herbert. I really like his tape. He is a very good route runner. He is deceptively athletic. Probably going to be the biggest issue is going to be durability with Lad McConkey. But right now, I would say over under, you're looking about 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns, potential to be top 10 wide receiver because of the quarterback situation. And the Chargers took a good offensive tackle in the first round. So they're going to get time to get the ball to this guy. So all that stuff I really like. And if he's going in the fourth, that's probably where he should go in a lot of leagues. If he goes in the fifth, that's your coin flip, like maybe not. If he goes outside of the fifth, then yeah, he's an easy smash because he's got like wide receiver one attached to a good offense and a good quarterback. One of the things I'm going to talk about here in a second is offensive tackles and offensive guards. I don't know all of them. Primarily, it's just like the team is trying to attack the position. If I know a little bit about the guy, if I watch a little bit of tape on him, I'll have something to say. Generally, offensive tackles at this range are probably going to convert more to offensive guards. So Jalen Polk from Washington, he goes to the Patriots 37 overall. I didn't really like the Washington wide receivers from a fantasy perspective because I don't know if they ever project to be number ones in their offenses. Well, he has the possibility to be the number one in the offense attached to Drake May. That would move him significantly up my board in redraft and dynasty right now. In redraft, I would probably be looking at putting him in the early 30s, maybe even the late 20s. Again, anybody who has the possibility to be number one in their offense is going to be fantasy relevant. It's just going to be a matter of like what I think his range of outcomes is right now. And we'll get it a little bit more into the Patriots in the offseason. I think they did go attack the offensive line tonight. So that's a good thing. A big run on defensive players. Then 46 overall, we have Jonathan Brooks, the first running back off the board, going to the Panthers. I looked it up beforehand. Chuba Hubbard, he's in the last year of his deal. Probably going to be a sneaky RB2, RB1 to start the year. This also means they don't necessarily have to rush Jonathan Brooks back from his ACL. Going to be something to monitor with Miles Sanders. Like the Bears last year, it's going to be a really hard thing for roster construction for the Panthers to keep Chuba, Miles Sanders, and Jonathan Brooks active on the same game. Or so I imagine that Miles Sanders, even with guaranteed money, it may be gone, especially if when Jonathan Brooks is good to go. So this is going to be all camp stuff, monitoring it. Right now, I would say Jonathan Brooks is probably going to be a second round pick next year in redraft. Dynasty, yeah, probably going to have a lot more value down the line, projecting to be an RB1 next year. Would have probably been a first round draft pick if it wasn't for the knee. And from a redraft perspective, yeah, he's probably going to be start the season as a handcuff to Chuba and expecting it's going to turn into a timeshare if he just doesn't take over the backfield by the end of the year. Let's see. Zach Frazier going to Pittsburgh Steelers, 51 overall. Again, this is more stuff. I like Zach Frazier as a prospect. Just more stuff to upgrade the Pittsburgh offensive line, which means good for the running backs, good for the wide receivers, good stuff. A.D. Mitchell goes 52 overall. The Colts. This is probably personality stuff. Did not interview well. That's why he dropped all the way down here. Any Alec Pierce shares, this is probably going to hurt him the most. It's a good upgrade for Anthony Richardson. Maybe a slight downgrade for Michael Pittman. Maybe not this year in redraft, probably in Dynasty. I could see that he's going to have more value there. Probably one of those guys that is going to go later in redraft. I don't know if I would necessarily even put him in the draftability range at this point. Probably going to be a guy to expect to eat into that Alec Pierce X role as the season goes on. So there's a lot of like ifs and buts from a redraft perspective. From a dynasty perspective, he would look to be more of a wide receiver 2 in the future as long as Michael Pittman's there. Ben Sanote goes 53 overall to the Redskins. And when you're right, you're right. I did talk about him. He's only a 4.6 guy, kind of deceptive open field ability. This is probably this year's Sam Laporta going in the second round of the draft. Again, another weapon going to Jaden Daniels. So this is an upgraded Jaden Daniels. Probably because of the draft capital, I would be putting him at tight end 14 overall. And this would be the cap at draftability right now for tight ends. In redraft, I would only have about 14 really draftable tight ends, and he would be the end of the line with Brock Bowers. And from a redraft, or excuse me, from a dynasty perspective, yeah, you're looking at a guy that potentially could be the number 2 in the offense down the line, so he's going to have a lot of value. Let's see. Blake Fisher goes 59 overall to the Texans. I like Blake Fisher as a prospect. So this is just another thing to help CJ Stroud and the toys going next year. Also an upgrade to Joe Mixon. And with all the running backs that got moved down because of this, like Chuba Hubbard falls out, a bell cow. Kyron Williams is going to be gone. Josh Jacobs is going to get moved down. So something like this is definitely a good news for Joe Mixon. Looking at my notes, Joe Mixon is running back 15. I definitely can see that I might move him up a couple of slots because of this. And then Roger Rosengarten from Washington goes 62 overall to the Ravens. I like him. It slotted in to be a guard. I don't know that much about Kingsley, whatever, Sawmayat, whatever from BYU. But again, I like more offensive line going to the Chiefs. See, moving on. Malachi Corley goes first 65 overall, first pick of the third round to the Jets. Again, the Jets are in win now mode. I think he slots in to be that wide receiver 3. Gonna be a manufactured touch guy, potentially even getting moved to running back. That's what I would think about him. Probably gonna take a few touches away from Breece and Garrett Wilson. I don't know if I would necessarily downgrade them as of yet. It depends, like, obviously stuff that we're not going to know going into the season. Interesting pick. That's all I would say about that. I don't think he's ever going to be anything more than a wide receiver 3. There is a possibility because of his play style, the yard jack for the catch, that he could potentially be a wide receiver 1 down the line. But not with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is special in a way that I don't think Malachi Corley is. 66 overall to the Cardinals, Trey Benson. So this is probably the death nail in our boy DeMarcado ever being a bell cow for the Cardinals. James Conner's 29. I imagine that they are going to give him the keys to the kingdom at a certain point, if not this year, at the end of this year, then next year. I don't see how James Conner comes back. They probably do like James Conner. Again, this is going to be another guy. It's just going to be when they can trust him to be a good football player and not just a good athlete. I think he has some of the tools to be special. Going to be a priority handcuff to start the year off. Maybe if James Conner gets cut, in camp, would upgrade Trey Benson. Right now, he's going to be a later round lottery ticket and redraft. In Dynasty, yeah, he's going to project to be an RB1 next year. Isaiah Adams going 71 overall to the Cardinals. And again, this is just more stuff to like about what the Cardinals are doing. I do like him. I did watch a little bit of tape on him. Guy's going to slot right in, probably be a guard or swing tackle. I do like that type of stuff. I did watch this guy, Kieran, whatever, because he's from Yale. And I like watching the Ivy League school guys to see how much they can actually translate. And so he's okay. I think he's more of a developmental guy, but this is more news that the Bears are not trying to ruin the first overall pick. So I do like that. Cooper Beebe from Kansas State, I don't know anything about. Let's see, moving on. Jermaine Burton from Alabama goes 80 overall to the Cincinnati Bengals. I like this pick. He's another guy with probably personality concerns. Down the line, T. Higgins may or may not re-sign with the Bengals. This is news that they're probably not going to re-sign him. They're probably going to have to pay over $30 million a year to Jamar Chase. They did pick up his fifth-year option. Yosivas, he's another Ivy League guy. I could definitely see him slotting into that X or big slot. Jermaine Burton probably has better skills than a third-round pick, but again, personality stuff. So I could definitely see him staying with the Bengals and eventually being the number 2 attached to Joe Burrow in Dynasty. Redraft, I don't think he has any value outside of injuries. Tip Riemann. So he's 6'5", 271, and he runs a 4.64 40. And the big news out of all this is going to be that just like Brock Bowers being the H to Mayer's Y, you're looking at him being the Y to Trey McBride. So this is going to keep Trey McBride probably like my number 2 tight end overall. Expect that there's a possibility down the line we're going to see a lot of 2 tight ends from the Cardinals, if not this year or in the future. And maybe there's a chance that you're going to look at like a fantasy relevant tight end. I mean, that's ridiculous. 6'5", 271 inline Y with a 4.6 40. Probably very raw. Blake Corum goes 83 overall to the Rams. So this is going to downgrade Kieran Williams from high-end running back 1 to probably high-end running back 2. I could definitely see this turning into a timeshare this year. Kieran Williams is going into year 3. Definitely would be thinking that Blake Corum could be an RB1 in the league. If they don't re-sign Kieran Williams, that would be what my thoughts are. Otherwise, they're just going to be in a timeshare for the foreseeable future. Going to be a priority handcuff in redraft. It would probably take Kieran Williams off my board, to be honest. And again, as a priority handcuff, this would be one of the guys that as a dart throw later in the draft, if someone's not protecting their Kieran Williams shares, I would be picking him up. And again, in Dynasty, that road is 2 or 3 years down the line. Roman Wilson goes 84 overall to the Steelers, projects to be a Z slot attached, combined with George Pickens. So I do like this pick with all the offensive line upgrades. Maybe has the ability to be a low end wide receiver 1. Maybe a wide receiver 3 this year in redraft. Down the line, is probably going to have the ability to flirt with being a wide receiver 2. Again, it's probably more of the quarterback situation going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers overall. He could theoretically be the possession guy, the opportunity guy, and then Pickens could still be the efficiency, deep downfield production guy. So I would probably be slightly downgrading Pickens and putting Roman Wilson in that like late round dart throw range in redraft. In Dynasty, yeah, there's some value here. It's just going to take a while to parse out. Marshawn Lloyd goes 88 overall to the Packers. So I looked this up beforehand. The out for Josh Jacobs is going to be 2024. So again, if he's lost a step, they got his replacement right now. They paid a lot of money to Josh Jacobs to be a 1-year rental if that's what they decide to do. Marshawn Lloyd, he's another one of those guys, better athlete than a football player. And if he can develop into being a pass blocker, RB1, that's very easy down the line. It just depends on if Josh Jacobs has it and when he decides that he wants to pass block. That's the easy way to look at it. It's going to downgrade my Josh Jacobs shares from mid-range RB1 to probably high-end RB2. It's going to make Marshawn Lloyd a priority handcuff. And the other interesting thing about this is to monitor AJ Dillon if he even makes the roster at this point. Jalen McMillan, wide receiver from Washington, goes 92 overall to the Buccaneers. I like this pick. Probably in a year or two, I could definitely see McMillan and Trey Palmer being number 1 and number 2 in that Buccaneers offense. Probably not going to be fantasy relevant in redraft, and in dynasty, you're looking like 2 or 3 years down the line to be probably not a wide receiver 1. I don't think he'll ever get there, but like somewhere in the range of wide receiver 2, I could definitely see that happening. And then Luke McCaffrey goes 100 overall to the Redskins. This is another really good pick. We don't want to ruin Jaden Daniels. Potentially could even be a wide receiver 3 this year. I did like him at Rice. Again, he's a McCaffrey overall. So I do think that there's upside to this. I don't know if he's ever going to be anything more than that slot only type of guy. It's going to be a little interesting overall. No redraft value, I don't think, going into this year. Maybe an upgrade for Terry McLaurin. Definitely an upgrade for Jaden Daniels. It just says like, hey, we're giving him all the toys that we can give him. Overall. So yeah, that's about it for the first 2 rounds of the draft. We're expecting tomorrow that we're actually going to get maybe the running backs, the rest of the running backs to go off the board. Jalen Wright, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, Isaac Goriendo, Bucky Irvin, Audric Estime. I like all those guys. Will Shipley. Let's see who else. Tyrone Tracy still on the board. Vidal from Troy. I do like him a little bit. Labe is still there. So there's still a lot of guys that I think have the ability. These are the guys that are going to have the real ability to win leagues the deeper they go. Audric Estime. We're still looking at Gus Bus, Devin Singletary, Rico Dowdle. Still are fending off any challengers for them to be bell cows. They would potentially be moved up if they don't bring a guy in. If they bring a guy in, these are going to be the guys that are going to be priority to beat them out at a certain point in the year. And then there's still some wide receivers on the board. Troy Flankman's still available. Javon Baker, who I really like. Johnny Wilson's going to be interesting. See if I see anybody else. And then tight ends. We have Sanders from Texas, Cade Stover from Ohio State, Tanner McLaughlin from Arizona, Theo Johnson. He's the big 4.5 40 tight end. We're waiting on him. I thought he'd be gone already. I like Bell and then Devin Culp. So there's still some guys, especially from Dynasty, that are still available. And quarterbacks, I don't think Spencer Rattler is going to be anything maybe more than like a 1-year rental at starting quarterback, and overall Joe Milton's going to have maybe a little bit of upside. There are still a few guys like Michael Pratt, like some of these guys have been looking a little bit more at, may have a little bit of potential upside down the road. They're going to be like, interesting landing spot type of guys. So overall, I will probably do a video tomorrow evening when I get home and check out how everything went, and I'll see you then.